Max here in Muscle World. I'm here today answering your questions. I had a message from Steve P. He is asking me, please can I ask how you treated your Achilles tendon injuries? As he's had one that's been bothering him for a few months now. Alright Steve, thank you very much for the question. Now, what I'm about to discuss here, I need to say to you, I am not a medical professional. What I'm about to say here does not supersede anything your doctor has told you. When you've got any kind of injury, you need to speak to your doctor and see and let them look at it, let them assess it, and then they can diagnose it and give you plans for healing it and recovering it. However, I will make this video to just explain to you how you've asked how I managed to fix my injury and explain the process I went through in the hope that it can at least motivate you to realise that there is a light at the end of the tunnel and that it can recover. And I'll tell you how I did that and the steps that I took. Now, individual results will vary. What worked for me may not necessarily work for you, but at least hopefully it will kind of give you that idea that it will happen, you will be able to heal yourself and it will eventually recover. Now, I know not all injuries are the same, not all Achilles tendon injuries are the same. Yours might be more severe than mine, it may be in a different part of the tendon that might make it more difficult to recover than what mine did. My injury happened, it happened and it occurred as a kind of sustained result of my actions over a period of time, and it eventually kind of manifested itself by when I decided I was going to do 22,000 jumping jacks for my 22,000 subscriber challenge. Now, I'm not holding that against you guys, however, after that I could barely walk, and the next day I could barely walk either, and my Achilles tendon, particularly my right leg, was in a very bad way. Left leg was as well, but that one seemed to heal significantly quicker than my right one did. The right one continued to give me grief for some time afterwards. So I'll explain what I did. I'll give you kind of rough time frames of what happened as well and how long I lasted on each one. So very first thing I did, and this started immediately afterwards. So the first thing that you need to do is be able to recognise that you've got an injury. And once you recognise you've got an injury, then you need to look at your actions and what you're doing. As soon as I realised I had this injury, which was during the jumping jacks challenge, I should have stopped, but that's just me, I didn't stop. I don't regret it, that's just the way I am, that's what I do. So the moment I realised I had an injury, I did my immediate action, which was to rest it, to stop doing what was causing it problems. So first thing I'm going to put on the list there is rest. Very important one. So when I say rest, I mean I basically just went and sat down, had a hot bath, ate some food, I went to sleep as soon as possible, kept myself nice and warm, kept the area of my lower limbs nice and warm as well, keep the blood circulation going. Now I would like to have rested for longer, but I did have things I needed to do, but I just did the bare minimum. So I could barely walk the next day. I was literally hobbling around. I couldn't really move my foot like that. I was kind of having to walk whilst keeping my heels flat on the floor. So the Achilles tendon is used heavily when running, jumping, walking. The tendon attaches the bone to the muscle. It was causing me a great deal of pain. It was not mobile. I could barely move it. I couldn't stand on my toes. I couldn't bear weight on it. I probably should have had a set of crutches, but I didn't, because it was funny thing, it was on both legs, so I was in a bit of a hurt locker really. I was having to use my arms quite a lot to manoeuvre around. But the fact is, I did move around, but I really limited the amount of moving around I was doing. I certainly didn't do running, and I certainly didn't do any jumping. I had to move some stuff because I said to my girlfriend that I'd help her move a couple of things in work. It was probably more of a hindrance than a help, to be honest with you, but I'm a man of my word. So first one is rest. Now this period here, initially I think for me was about 2 days where I made sure I got a lot of sleep. I just laid up, I didn't move it much. In this period as well, I made sure I had contrasting showers. I used to enjoy ice baths, I used to prefer them, but it's been very cold, it's been quite cold here. So I decided I'd go for the hot and cold showers, which you alternate to about 2 minutes of hot water, 2 minutes of cold water, and I was able to do that kind of directly on the lower leg, not having to cool down the rest of my body. So I was just kind of doing 2 minutes of a direct shower on my lower leg, on the tendon, cold water, 2 minutes, and then warm water then for 2 minutes, and I do that sort of 2, 3, 4 times depending on how long I had in the shower for each one. Just doing each leg, it was taking some time. So I probably did it maybe twice on each leg, depending on how much time I had. Contrasting showers, ice baths could be a similar option. It depends on what what kind of setup we got. I made sure that I wore compression tights throughout. I wore them all day, I wore them when I was walking around anywhere, I wore them when I was sleeping, I wore them in bed. I tried desperately to get at least 8 hours sleep. I think my body recognised there was something wrong, because I think the first night I had something like 9 hours sleep, which is like unheard of for me. And then the next day I tried to do the same as well. Walking up and downstairs was a massive problem, real difficult issue there, but I maintained the rest, and whilst I was lying in bed, I just practiced kind of just trying to gently kind of move my foot. Just very gently, but it was difficult to do. It was causing me a lot of pain, so I didn't do it that much, but I was just kind of gauging where my range of motion was at. So my rest phase lasted about 2 days of complete rest. After that, I was still hobbling around, but I then began just trying to kind of mobilise it. Just trying to very gently, just trying to stretch and mobilise. So the next stage I had mobilisation. Continuing on from what I'd been doing when I was lying down, where I was kind of just doing that, plantar flexion and dorsiflexion, just trying to move it where I could. Again, painful, uncomfortable in this situation. I couldn't walk properly, I still couldn't stand on my toes, I still couldn't bear much weight on it. But what I began doing was resistance band training. So I would get a resistance band, I'd pop it on my toe, and I would hold it and I would just push forward, slice it slowly, and then control it backwards. I did start trying to stretch it very gently, started doing some calf stretches, but I wasn't going too much into it, just very gently, hold it for a few seconds and ease out of it. And I just practiced that daily, just a few times throughout the day. Just very gently at first, maybe once or twice on the first day, and the second day then built it up a little bit more, just do a little bit more each time, very, very gently. I was being very, very careful and cautious at this point. Mobilisation and flexibility. This period here went on for probably the rest of the week. While I was doing that, I also started practicing just kind of standing on one leg, just trying to let the stabilisers work, get used to doing that. I was picking up the amount of stretching I was doing, again, still very gradually. And eventually then I began kind of being able to walk. I was able to kind of walk properly. Not properly, but I was able to walk. It was still causing me pain at this point, but I was actually kind of able just to move my foot a little bit more and enable me to walk without kind of hobbling so much. I tried my best to not change my gait, do any kind of weird kind of shuffling movements or anything like that. I eventually just kind of trying to get through the movement nice and slowly, but I did find that I fatigued quite quickly. And once it felt like kind of enough was enough, I would stop. I wouldn't try to overdo it. I was doing it very, very slowly. So like I said, that lasted about a week. Eventually then, I just started walking. The next stage was getting my steps in. So I'm still doing these things here. I'm still resting when I need to. I'm still trying to get as much sleep as I can. I'm still wearing my compression tights. I'm still doing contrasting hot and cold showers. I'm still doing mobilisation. I'm still doing very gentle stretching. I'm still doing strengthening with the resistance bands, increasing the repetitions. So I've gone now from say doing 10 repetitions, I'm up to 15 repetitions, 20 repetitions, 25 repetitions. I'm doing sets of stretches. And then decide then I'm feeling able to do very short walks. So I start getting my steps in. First day I was doing this was probably, I did about 1,000 steps. I went for a walk, about 1,000 steps, a walk around a block. I called it quits then. I said, look, I can feel it. It hurts, still a little bit of pain there. Mainly in my right, I can feel it. I didn't overdo it. I tried not to go up anything too steep. I didn't walk fast, I walked nice and slowly. I avoided any kind of sharp turns, any sharp bends, any kind of sudden movements. It was just a nice straight line, just walking. Every day then, I gauge it then. I would say, okay, see how I felt afterwards, see how I felt the next day, because typically I was finding in the mornings it would hurt a lot more and then the pain would kind of subside throughout the day. So I would look at that and I'd kind of feel and respond. It did feel like it was getting better, it did feel like it was getting stronger, so I would, the next day, go for a little bit longer walk, maybe do 2 laps of the block, or maybe do 2 laps of the block scattered throughout the day. I would try and increase my duration, my endurance. It did get to the point where I could maybe walk for like 15, 20 minutes, and then that was about my limit. And then it would start to fatigue, and I had to start going slower and slower. And I could feel it just wasn't, my foot just wasn't doing the right movement. It just wasn't going the way it's supposed to go. And that was when I kind of call it a day then. I said, look, I can't do any more of this because I probably not allowing it to heal. Gradually increased my steps on top of doing all these other things as well. Then came the point when I was confident then I was able to walk longer. I just increased the durations of my walks till I was able to walk without much issue. I stopped really getting much pain. Wasn't getting so much pain in the morning. It was more of a kind of a dull ache, more like a tightness. That's what it felt like in the mornings. So I'd be sure to do my mobilization drills in the morning very gently before I get out of bed, so that it wasn't just suddenly shocked. It wasn't just tight from where I'd been sleeping and then suddenly start walking. Mobilizations in the morning I found would help just kind of loosen it up and just get ready to get out of bed and walk. I was getting my steps in there each day, gradually increasing it to the point where I was doing 8,000 to 10,000 steps per day, not really having many issues. So then I decided I need to start applying some stress on it. So this is the tricky one for me. This is probably about 2 weeks or so now at this point from when I had the initial kind of injury. I think it's probably about 2 weeks. So when I say stress, I'm talking just walking up a hill. I'm talking walking kind of cross country, so that my ankle is having to, my foot is having to go in different kind of movements, different kind of planes. My weight is going on it in slightly different ways. And again, it was a short walk, probably about 7,000, 8,000 steps in total, mainly uphill. However, as a result of that, then I would gauge it, see how I felt from that. Next day or a couple of days later, the next day then, do a similar walk, do a similar route, maybe go a little bit further. I'd start walking up a hill, I'd go so far, and then I'd turn back. And then each day then I'll just go up the hill a little bit further, and so on. Eventually then I would start going on kind of longer hill walks. I would go kind of off the road, so I was having to kind of walk on tracks when my foot was being challenged in different kind of angles. It was being stretched and stress was being put on it from different angles. And I found that was kind of the turning point then, when I knew, okay, it's on its way on the right kind of point there. So I was providing stress, but not too much stress. I was providing it a tiny bit of stress, introducing it to a slight bit of stress so that it would kind of have to adapt to it, but not so much that it would derail it. If at this point here, this is a crucial part, I felt that if I had provided too much stress, i.e. if I'd started running, jumping, things like that, then I would have to have gone back to the start and repeated the process. So this part here was very, very crucial. I made sure that I was in there at the right time. Once I was happy with that, then I decided I needed to do some strength exercises. I found with this one, when I was doing things like exercises like squats, felt very weird at first. Even after clocking in a lot of miles, walking up hills, walking in boots, walking across different kinds of rugged terrain on rocks and things like that, doing squats felt really weird. Just didn't feel like my foot was in the right place. It felt like it was at an awkward angle. However, a week into doing strength training, a week into doing weights, just focusing on it, taking my time to warm up, doing some stretches on it beforehand, body weight squats, holding it at the bottom. It's feeling a bit weird when I got nice and deep in the squat. A week into doing strength training, or 2 weeks into doing strength training, completely gone. No issues. Squatting deep, no problem. It goes into that movement, it's feeling strong, it's feeling very stable. That's kind of where I'm at now, is I've strengthened the leg, I'm strengthening the muscles, I'm getting the balance as I'm going down with the weight and up, and it is feeling good. Now at any point this can go back, this can be reversed, I know that. So it just means I need to be careful, I need to keep performing these, I need to keep strengthening it, keep providing it with moderate stress. I need to keep getting my steps up, so it's constantly being moved. The important thing that we remember as well is sleep, recovery, nutrition. So I'm looking at my diet now, and there's some very important things I'm looking at. I'm making sure I'm taking plenty of collagen protein, very good for helping your tendons recover, and making sure that I'm consuming foods such as beetroot, which are very good for your circulation. I'm making sure that I've got a healthy diet and get as much sleep as I can, keep myself as healthy and active as I can, but I'm still avoiding exercises that could potentially overdo it and cause too much stress. So these exercises are going to be avoiding anything with jumping in, anything with sprinting in, anything with running in. I'm avoiding. I'm not doing them. I still haven't done this, and I'm talking about each of these processes here. So this whole process here is well over a month and a half, and I'm still not even thinking about doing those type of exercises. I had to do some kind of hopping on the spot earlier, jumping jacks, I didn't get any pain, only did a few repetitions. I can stand up on my toes fine now. I can do calf raises. Oh, other strength exercise I was doing was calf raises, so I do apologise, I forgot to say that. Doing controlled calf raises. They felt painful at first in the lowering phase, but after a few sets, after a few sessions, they quickly became stronger, and they seemed fine from just doing that. The light weights, in fact, the light resistance band I was doing, they really did seem to help. Some things I'd like to just kind of say, the things that definitely helped me. Avoided the exercises, running, jumping, rested myself 2 days or so, complete total rest from doing virtually anything, and then gradually started introducing just movement to it, gradually started introducing steps to it, introduce stress to it, the right kind of stress, and just enough stress and not too much. Gradually increase the amount of stress I was putting on it, and then eventually I started doing some strength trainings, and that's where I'm at now. Moving ahead then and keep doing that, I'm going to not apply stress. Eventually I'll be able to do that, and I think this is good as new, almost. I'm pretty happy with it. But I do want to say one thing, that a lot of this is psychological. A lot of this is motivation, because I feel that if at this point here, when we get the injury, there's a couple of options there. A lot of it's psychological. I could have defeated myself at that point there, and this whole process could have just taken a lot longer. So I think a lot of it's to do with mindset, a lot of it's to do with psychology. If you're interested in that, I'll do another video on my thoughts on psychology of injury. I've got a lot of thought about that, to be honest. Too much to put in one video along with this. But just let me know if you find that interesting. We've all got different mechanisms, coping mechanisms of dealing with such things. But this was how I dealt with kind of the physical aspect of the Achilles tendon injury. I imagine this process could be used for any other injury. I mean, real serious ones, you know, you're talking about, I know people who have had real bad injuries. I mean, Achilles tendon injury, yeah, it's a great injury because the tendon is a very important tendon. There's certainly worse injuries to have. I don't envy anyone who's had worse injuries than that. I know some people who've had some real nasty accidents, and how they've been able to kind of cope, is a massive testament to their character. Anyway, hope this helps. I hope that your tendon injury recovers soon. I hope that you're able to get out and enjoy what you're doing without giving you too much bother. Thank you for the question. Guys, if you've got any other further questions, just let me know in the comments. Let me know what you want to see. Look forward to seeing you soon. I'll be on your screen very shortly. Take care. Have a great day. See you soon. Bye bye.